Part 70. Transmigration, First Class Immortal Husband. Author, North Wind Blows. Chapter 691. For familiar friends, Guyao and the others no longer concealed their real identities and names. Huju and the others can understand that although Guyao's backstage is quite large now, compared with the forces behind them, the foundation is still too thin, just like Broken Soul Palace, not to mention the masters of the Devil Emperor level, it is Xian level masters are also taken out by the dozen. Although such forces are not very willing to provoke Immortal Emperor Yuheng, but if they really want to confront, Immortal Emperor Yuheng can only give in. Besides himself, he has to take care of those around you. Therefore, from the perspective of Huju and the others, Guyao and the others are more cautious. Now that their identities are disclosed, even if the enemy knows, they cannot be moved for the time being. Because of the Fusion Dan and the nuclear explosion, the three major martial arts halls will shelter them. Is the status of the three martial arts halls high? Before involving the big situation of the fairy and demon world, other irrelevant trivial matters must be stepped back. Although the elders who preside over the work are not the strongest, the big men behind the scenes are the real controllers. Guyao and the others didn't make any special propaganda, and all the friends who should know about it knew it. No, they also attracted Bigo and Jianyang from Chanqi Xianmen. After the disciples of Chanqi Xianmen reach a certain level, they also need to come to Void City for training. This is the case for the two of them. When they came to Void City, they heard about Gu Kai's team and their relationship with alchemist Mei Suan. I don't know who the members of Gukai's team are. The two of them couldn't believe their ears, the news they heard was too dramatic. The last time we parted from Donglan City, they were no more than Earth Immortals, and their strength was not much different from ours. I thought that I had cultivated to the peak of Earth Immortals quickly enough over the years. I didn't expect them to sprint towards Xianxian. Bigo laughed at himself. The elders of their sects are just Xianxian, and the news of Su's promotion to Suanmo stimulated their hearts to speed up. Jianyang patted him on the shoulder and said, "Some people are destined to soar into the sky. Think about it, how many people are in the entire fairy, demon, and demon world who can achieve their level? Although we can't compare with them, we can leaving most of the monks behind." They came to the Void Beast battlefield to find a breakthrough opportunity. From the peak of the Earth Immortal to the early days of the Immortal, there is only one step away, but some monks will stay for tens of thousands of years and can't find that opportunity. There are many in their section. The disciples learned something from the Void Beast battlefield, and finally made a breakthrough, so they also embarked on the same path. According to the time when Guyao and the others came to Void City, they should have set foot on the road to Void City directly after they separated in Donglan City. I have to say, this decision is also very bold, and they still need to rely on Zongmen's strength. When they first entered the battlefield, they were led by the senior brothers and seniors of the sect and gradually adapted. Now that they're here, they didn't want to avoid getting to know Guyao. If nothing else, at least they could buy better quality medicinal pills through Guyao. At first, they did not explain this matter to their colleagues. They first went to Xian Wuotang to find a way to contact Guyao and the others. They found the Dantang of Xian Wuotang. After learning of their intention, Dantang's steward did not directly reject them. Now, I was worried that if I really knew Guyao and the others, I would offend people, so I sent the news to the cave where the four of them lived. Whether or not to see them depends on Guyao and the others. The news of Guyao's reply was very fast, and he asked the steward to give the current address to Bigo and the two of them, and told them to go directly. Bigo and Jianyang were very happy when they got the address. Their vision was right back then. Guyao and the others did not shut them out because of their high cultivation. Before the two went, they also collected immortal grass, and some of them exchanged medicinal herbs with their fellow students, and then went out excitedly. The heavenly immortal disciples from the Chanqi immortal sect in the back disapproved and said after they left, "These two fools exchanged medicinal pills for immortal herbs." Unless they know the level of alchemist Migzun, it will not be worth the loss. This void city, the same immortal grass cannot buy the equivalent medicinal pills. The price of immortal pills here is more expensive than outside, and this is only under the control of Xian Wutang, otherwise the price will be higher. Junior brother Bai and the others don't seem to be people who do things without rules. Who are they looking for when they go out now? This is the first time they have come to Void City. Do they still know the people here? I don't know, maybe their family has a little power here. When Bigo and Jianyang arrived, Lu Peng and the captain of the Zhenli team had just been sent out by Su Chuan, and the two sides fought each other. After Su Chuan asked about their identities, he brought them in. Lu Peng and his captain looked back and said with a smile, "These two monks are very lucky." At first glance, they are old friends of the ancient alchemist. Otherwise, it would not be easy to see them at this time. 7. Lu Peng smiled again. "We are also very lucky, we just reminded casually at the beginning, who would have thought that there would be today's situation. I don't know how many forces and monks outside want to win over and get to know the Gukha team. However, except for those who know each other, the rest are all turned away. After all, whoever sees them will offend another wave of forces, so it's better to not see them all." Involving interests. Over the years, many alchemy forces have tried to crack the alchemy formula of fusion pill. After all, the benefits are considerable. However, 100 years have passed, but there are only a few forces that have come up with a simplified version of fusion pill, named Ziofu. Shendan, dipped in a little light, but in the end it can't compare to the genuine one. Now the pill is owned by Xian Wutang, but if Guyao himself is willing to hand it over, then Xian Wutang can't be bothered. However, the Gukha team is unable to enter the oil and salt, and the forces of all parties can only regret each other. Tough means are absolutely necessary. Just the two such as Fushandan and nuclear explosion, let the Gukha team win excellent among the monks. His reputation and popularity, relying on these two, how many people have survived on the battlefield of the Void Beast in the past 100 years? Guyao is also very happy to see Bigo and Jianyang. After all, they have known each other since the spiritual world. It was said that they would have known each other in the spiritual world, and now they meet again in the Void City because of the Void Beast. Bigo was a little excited. "When I first came here, I heard that Master Su was promoted to Suanmo, and I couldn't believe it. Master Liao Su was a famous person wherever he went. Others only know the reputation of Su in the demon world and the Void Beast battlefield, but they don't know that he was also a famous bloodthirsty monk in the spiritual world, and it is said that he ran rampant in the spiritual world and the lower demon world." Su Chen was proud. When others praised the falsehood, he was praised, indicating that he had a good vision, and the little monk was his drop. A few people talked for a while, and Bigo and Jianyang also explained their intentions calmly, because after getting along a few times, they knew that Guyao and the others like to go straight and don't like to go around in circles. Su Chen and Guyao were not surprised, and they didn't push it out. After all, it wouldn't take them long to make a few pots of pills. Because with their current strength, the level of elixir that Bigo and Jianyang need is not high, and the refining time is much shorter, so Su Chen was asked to entertain the two of them outside, and Guyao himself got into the elixir room. They made the medicine pill before they left. Bigo and Jianyang were very emotional when they got the medicine pill. The ancient medicine master's medicine has improved again. It is our luck that we were able to get acquainted with the ancient medicine master when we went to the spiritual world. Comparing the fate of the 7 stars immortal sect, they were fortunate that they did not offend Guyao and Qi Changjai at the beginning, and they still had this fate. Guyao humbly said, "I have been taught by master's side during this period of time, so I have made a little progress." Bigo and Jianyang, who got the medicine pill, left happily and returned to Chanki Xianman's residence. He went to visit the 4 members of the Gukha team, which also shows that he met when he was in the lower realm. As soon as these words came out, many disciples of Chanki Zionman were led out, and everyone's first consciousness was to question. There were still many disciples who remembered the two people in the lower realm. After all, they received the task sent by Xian Huan Palace. It is a little dangerous, but if it is successfully completed, it will be considered a number in the sect and Xian Huan Palace, and it will be able to stand out from the disciples. You're not mistaken? Did you really meet when you were in the lower realm? How many years have passed since they were promoted from ascension cultivators to heavenly immortals and mysterious demons? Jianyang said displeasedly, we don't need to lie, and besides, the medicinal pills we asked for are not fake. Probably few people in this void city dare to put their names on them. They're medicinal pills, except for immortals on the Wuotang side. There are no other places, and besides their addresses, we also got them from Zion Wuotang. Bigo cooperatively took out the medicinal pill and showed it to them, saying that there was no proof, this medicinal pill could not be faked, and all they got were top quality pills. Suddenly a gasp sounded, need for pills. How many people in Chanki Immortal sect can take need pill? There are very few alchemy masters who can refine the pure top grade pills. It can be seen that the reputation spread outside is not exaggerated. You boy, why didn't you tell us earlier that you were going to see the Gukha team? I knew we would gather more fairy grass for you. Bigo and Jianyang glanced at each other, touched their noses and said, this time is different from the past. How do we know that they are still willing to see us in their current status? We just went with the idea of giving it a try. They still remember us. Cough, junior brother Bai, can you exchange 1 or 2 pills for me? I'll buy it at twice, no, 3 times the price. And me, junior brother Jian, I only need 1, okay. Junior brother, when you are on the battlefield, senior brother, I will cover you, ahem, look. Bigo and Jianyang were surrounded by these same sects, and they both fell in love with the pills in their hands. They managed to get out of the way, and they were stupid to trade the pills they got. Such a good pill must be used on the blade. Especially the classmates who joked about their loss-making business at first, and regretted it. I knew that I could give them all the fairy grass on my body. It's free. The influential figures in Void City get in touch. Transmigration, First Class Immortal Husband. Author, North Wind Blows. Chapter 692. In the nameless void, a figure wrapped in black robes communicated with another group of blurred silhouettes. Check it out. Are those stinky boys from 100 years ago back? The black-robed man's voice was a little hoarse, yes, and both the fusion pill and the nuclear explosion are related to them. As soon as these words came out, the empty space here became unstable, and the vague figure said, good boy, dare to destroy the great things of our clan. Sooner or later, this seed will let them taste the power of our clan. The man in black robe said, yeah, I didn't expect to have anything to do with them. That guy Mason has never disclosed their identities before, and people even misunderstood that they are the disciples of Immortal Emperor Yuheng, in order to protect them, right? Otherwise, if he knew that 2 of the boys were Mason's disciples, he would have let them kill them on the Void Beast battlefield, and Mason's master and apprentice could have done him a lot of harm, and he would not avenge this revenge. How could he take his breath away? But now Zion Wuotang protects them tightly, it's not easy to do it again. In particular, he found that those guys had close contacts with Ji Xianming and others, and it was enough to deal with Mason and others. After all, their foundations were still shallow, but Ji Xianming and Hu Ju and the others, the forces behind them could not make people underestimated. Once they touch it, I am afraid that the forces behind them will pursue it to the end. This seat knows, the good things in the past have been destroyed by these stinky boys, Yuheng and Kang, who have been watching our movements, so the plan can only be moved later. You must find out for us the best chance, the blurred figure ordered. Okay, it's up to me, I want to kill them more than anyone else. The two figures quickly disappeared into the void, as if no living creature had ever visited them. Guyao and the others did not know that they were being watched, because of their actions 100 years ago, and because the explosion of the nucleus caused great casualties to the void beast, especially the latter. The monks in turn transformed them into nuclear explosions and used them to deal with the void beast, which caused great damage to the void beast. The leader of the void beast was about to explode because of this, so he controlled the number of void beasts that were thrown into the battlefield. Wouldn't that be giving those cultivators weapons to deal with them? It turned out that I only knew that it was introduced by Xian Wuotang, but it is not clear who researched it. Although Guqi and Ji Xianming had already used it on the battlefield, they also guessed that they had a close relationship with Xian Wuotang. They took it to the battlefield to test the effect, and now I know that it was developed by them. These few have suddenly become the mortal enemies of the void beast and must be wiped out. The ferocity of the void beast made them eager to kill these monks immediately, but they also saw the situation on the battlefield clearly. Maybe Yuheng and Kanggu were waiting for them to act before they could take the opportunity to strangle them. The void beast had to be suppressed first. 7. But Guyao and the others didn't know the thoughts behind the void beast. What they got was that the situation on the void beast battlefield was more and more favorable to the monks. Maybe in 100 and 1,000 years, the void beast might be brought to an end and completely expel them from this space, and never again be attacked by them. Under such circumstances, the four of Guyao spent most of their time cultivating, and a small part of the time they would enter the battlefield, either with the beast slaughtering team led by Su Chuan, or with Ji Xianming and the others, and the days passed quickly. The reputation of Guqi's team today is no less than that of the Galewind team that Guyao and the others learned about when they first came, and even more so. Many monks have tried their best to join the Guqi team. Looking at the situation of the members of the beast slaughtering team, they know that there are many benefits and they can be used. The best elixir, the most powerful nuclear explosion, and the strongest combat power. As long as you have seen the battle scenes of Su and Qi Changjai, you will not be able to forget their amazing combat power. It's a pity that no matter how strong their intentions are, the Guqi team has no idea of adding new members, and Su Chuan is not willing to add trouble to Guyao and them, so the beast slaying squad also refuses to expand the team, so the monks who initially joined the beast slaying squad has become the object of envy and jealousy of countless people. What did they say then? Beast squad? It was sent to the battlefield to be slaughtered by the void beast, it should be renamed the beast slaughter team. After a long time, Guyao and Qi Changjai's true identities were naturally exposed. This is also because they did not deliberately hide their true faces after they came to Void City, so there are always some clues dug up by interested people. In addition, Immortal Emperor Yuheng took care of them deliberately. When Immortal Emperor Yuheng appeared in the Piaoxiu Immortal Palace Star region, it was not a secret matter. After a little bit of digging, it was clear that Immortal Emperor Yuheng was very fond of the two Ascension cultivators. In order to take care of them, and even take action for them, and later involved the remains of Tianxian Jingyu, they were all found. Compared with these situations, on the contrary, they appeared in Yukang City and participated in the operation of the secret realm of Yukang City, and they were not exposed. Come. These situations were all expected by Guyao and Qi Changjai, and Yukang Qin's situation would be exposed sooner or later. The void beast has used a lot of Yang Huolei on the battlefield, and it will be excavated one day. However, they also know that it is safer to be in the void beast than anywhere. The immortal monarch who attacked them in Donglan City at the beginning, even if he knew that he was in Void City, would he dare to attack them recklessly? Void City looks at various forces entrenched, but it also has a bottom line that cannot be touched by others. In order to prevent them from being surrounded by various monks as soon as they traveled, and asking them for elixir, Guyao and Su Chen, after discussing with their master, set up a space in the Xianwu Hall to display the elixir of the two of them. As soon as the news spread, Monks from all walks of life came to the door to ask for pills, and immediately rushed to Xian Wuotang. There are many people who seek pills, which leads to the fact that every time their pills appear, they are immediately robbed by the cultivators who have been waiting for a long time. What should the monks who came one step behind do? No choice but to wait for the next wave of medicinal pills to appear. The pressure was transferred to Xian Wuotang. Gu Qi finally breathed a sigh of relief, hurriedly entered the battlefield through the teleportation array, and went to the void beast to exchange feelings. Since then, these two people, including Mei Sun's elixir, have been in a situation where the supply is far less than the demand. On the black market, the prices of their master and apprentice's medicinal pills have been fired up, but the medicinal pills that will appear on the black market are still very few. Any cultivator who grabbed the medicinal pill would prefer to use the medicinal pill on himself, rather than take it to the black market to make a fortune. Books. When there is nothing to do, Qi Changjai likes to stay in Guyao's space. Although Liao Su and Su Chen also like it, but because it is completely under Guyao's control, Su Chen, no matter how carefree, is not willing to let Guyao see it. He got along with Su, so he minimized the time to go to space and covered them outside. Therefore, when there is no need to go to the battlefield, Qi Changjai and Guyao are very comfortable in the space. Yoyang. Since the pill book, pill stove and pill pavilion merged on the Tianyuan continent, the space has undergone tremendous changes. When they entered the space after the integration, they found that the space had evolved into a small world, which can be said to be with them. The Tianyuan continent was almost the size. Because of the presence of Zi Baobao, the large immortal fields have not been disrupted, but according to the changes in space and the conditions required for the growth of various immortal grasses, immortal fields are distributed in several areas, and the spiritual sense can know the growth of immortal grasses better. In the previous transformation, in addition to the further evolution of the space into a small world, the growth of the immortal grass is also extremely beneficial. The large immortal grass has completed the process of growing and maturing, and the seeds rolled down and sprouted and grew again. The short year immortal grass have gone through several rounds of reincarnation process, and some are too late to harvest, so this is the case. When all the transformations are completed, the warehouse where the immortal grass is stored is also full of various immortal grasses and immortal fruits. I don't know if it was because of the existence of earth spirits. Guyao discovered that in some mountain ranges and deep underground, there were ore veins that were bred, which shocked him. If it could be bred, would it mean that he would be completely self-sufficient in the future? However, because he is the master of the space, he feels that there is something missing in order to be fully conceived. Comparing the various steps of the space change, Guyao already knows it. If he wants the small world to evolve more perfectly, he may wait for the opportunity. When they are mature, they need to leave the void beast battlefield and go to other places to find their opportunities. At this moment, Qi Changjai is sitting cross-legged on the highest mountain in the space, breathing the fairy energy in the small world. The blood-colored slaughter sword is placed on his legs, and part of the fairy energy flows from Qi Changjai. In fairy sword. Nowadays, almost no one knows the name of slaughtering immortal sword, but because of this blood-colored immortal sword, Qi Changjai gradually gained the title of Blood Thunder Sword Immortal on the Void Beast battlefield. But this does not make the sword spirit happy. He is the sword spirit of the dignified slaying sword. What is the Blood Thunder Sword Fairy? It was a disgrace to his prestige. He thought that, above the sword of immortal slaughter, only the sword of divine slaughter could bring out his divine personality. But since he decided to ignore the new master Qi Changjai for 10 years, no, 5 years, his new master has actually left him behind, and he no longer asks how he is doing when practicing swordsmanship. What is lacking? So sword spirit is more worried, and decides to wait for Qi Changjai to let him learn a lesson. It has been almost 4 years since this heart block, and Sword Spirit has never found out that there is any master of slaughtering immortal sword who is more patient than Chi-Chang-Jai. When the previous master got him, he didn't try his best to please him. Get the best swordsmanship here, but what happened to Chi-Chang-Jai? Seeing that Chi-Chang-Jai's swordsmanship improved little by little, the Sword Spirit became more and more impatient. At this time, a figure suddenly appeared beside Chi-Chang-Jai. Chi-Chang-Jai opened his eyes, and without looking, he knew that only Guyao could come and go freely in the space, and he could do it with a single thought if he wanted to appear. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Transmigration, First Class Immortal Husband. Author, North Wind Blows. Chapter 693. Looking at the two little boys on Guyao's shoulders, Chi-Chang-Jai said with a smile, "Are you done?" Ye Guyao also sat down cross-legged like him, with Zi Bao Bao on his left shoulder, and a new member of the space on his right, namely the three-headed Chi Ling Ziodan. He and Zi Bao Bao laughed at each other. It looks like they get along very well. But this was not the case at first. Ziodan was also a bit arrogant, but before Guyao took a chance to train him, after a few turns in the space, they got along well in the shortest time, and Ziodan wanted to be proud of the new master again. Xiao, Zizai, and the others can teach him to recreate the artifact spirit together. After a few times, Ziodan succumbed. I don't know how many years he slept, but when he woke up, the little friends around him made him very happy, and he never wanted to be rejected by them. Originally, Sword Spirit wanted to draw Ziodan over. He thought they were the same and should stand on the same front. As a result, before taking any action, he watched Ziodan become more and more depraved, and he was not a spiritual treasure at all. Spiritual awareness and pride. Zi Bao Bao and Ziodan whispered to each other for a while, and when Ziodan looked at the blood sword on Chi-Chang-Jai's leg from time to time, he knew that Ziodan had bad intentions. Sure enough, after a while, Xiaodan deliberately exaggerated loudly, "Some artifact spirits, I really think that they are amazing, and the master has to bow to him. Our mission is actually to help the master, Zi Bao Bao, are you right?" Zi Bao Bao nodded seriously, "Yes, Bao Bao wants to help brother grow fairy grass, and Bao Bao is brother's best helper." "Me too, so am I," Xiaodan rushed to express, "I can also help my brother grow fairy grass, and I can also help my brother make alchemy." "Xiaodan, I am all-powerful. I'm not like that stinking sword spirit, who are we? Don't play with him." Even if he knew that they were acting, Guyao still almost burst into laughter. To speak of stinking, Xiaodan was not like that at first. With that small appearance, he was not too arrogant. The sword spirit was left out in the cold, and it was almost reaching its limit. He was so ridiculed by Xiaodan, who was also an artifact spirit. He couldn't help but jumped out of the space of the slaughter sword. The three-headed sword spirit sat down and wow. I cried and complained, "You all bully me, you are all bad people, bully me, Xiaojian is not useless, none of you will step on me, wow wow, wow wow." Including the owner of Chi-Chang-Jai, they were all dumbfounded. The cubs also ran over to watch with MOU on their faces, and the catpaws slaughtered the three-headed villain, "Meow meow, are you really crying?" Because Chi-Chang-Jai was often in and out of space, they had long known that there was a sword spirit inside the sword of slaughtering immortals, but obviously the sword spirit was too arrogant to communicate with them, so they simply threw the sword spirit aside. The sword spirit cried even more sadly and loudly. The cub retracted his claws a little embarrassedly, and then left the cat's mouth in disdain. "Can't stand it?" Guyao didn't know whether to laugh or cry, so he hinted at Xiaodan and told him not to speak any more, soothed Jianling and said, "Okay, no one here will bully Xiaojian, this is Jianling's own claim." Guyao said this, the corners of his mouth twitched uncontrollably when he called him, We actually like Xiaojian. Brother Ye also told me that Xiaojian helped him a lot. Without the help of Xiaojian, his swordsmanship would not have improved so quickly. Brother Ye, don't you think so? Sword Spirit covered his eyes and was still crying, but his voice was a little lower, and he secretly watched Qi Changjai through his fingers. Qi Changjai's mood is the same as Gu Yao's. Isn't this Sword Spirit very arrogant? Why is it like a child? He feels uncomfortable bullying a child. Seeing Gu Yao wink at him, he can only bite the bullet and say, "Yes, Xiaojian is very good and helps me a lot." Really, Xiaojian responded very quickly, and put his hands down, but his eyes were red. Really, there are still many places where I need Xiaojian's help in the future. Qi Changjai continued to bite the bullet and said, "Fortunately, this sword spirit is not hopeless, it is Xiaodan and the others who have contributed the most." The three-headed sword spirit clearly showed joy in his eyes, but he said with a sullen face, "Then I will forgive you this time. You have to promise me that you will not bully me in the future, and you are not allowed to ignore me anymore. I want Xiaodan and the others to play with me." It turned out that when he was hiding in the killing Immortal sword, he peeped at Xiaodan playing outside, and he was envious for a long time. Gu Yao, the master hurriedly promised, "Of course, Xiaodan and the others will definitely play with you, Xiaodan, baby, don't you think?" "Okay, I'll listen to my brother. Zi Bao Bao is the best." "I also listen to my brother." The three-headed Xiaodan shook his head with his arms in his arms. Zi Bao Bao always listened to Gu Yao's words the most, so he took the initiative to reconcile, and Ji Xiao really put down his prejudice and went to play together. As the masters, Qi Changjai and Gu Yao couldn't laugh or cry, they didn't expect to be solved in this way. Qi Changjai's voice transmission told Gu Yao, "I thought he could hold on for how long, but it turned out that he couldn't bear it, so he was waiting for me to give him a shot." Downstairs. Gu Yao said with a smile, "Actually, part of Xiaojian comes from Xiliajian. How could he be so bad-tempered? Maybe if you said a few soft words earlier, he would have already walked down the steps." Qi Changjai raised his eyebrows. Having said that, why should he let him soften first? Yes, maybe Jian Lingzi is like Qi Changjai's paranoid side. Let's go see the ninth layered fairy lotus." Gu Yao dragged Qi Changjai and disappeared above the mountain, and appeared by the pond where the ninth layered fairy lotus grew. The evolution and transformation of the space last time made the 9-layer fairy lotus also gain a lot of benefits. It has grown from a 4-layer fairy lotus to a 7-layer fairy lotus, and it has evolved a layer of restraint itself. If it wasn't for Gu Yao as the master of the space, when outsiders come in, they can't find the existence of the 7th layer immortal lotus at all. It hides itself. This is a self-protection method for some heaven and earth treasures. Sensing the arrival of Gu Yao, the 9-layer fairy lotus gently swayed its petals, as if to say hello to Gu Yao. After several transformations, the fairy spring in the pond where Xianlian is now has undergone qualitative changes. I believe that ordinary monks' immersion in it can have a reborn effect, but they often practice by the pond, and they don't need to use Xianquan anymore. This Xianquan also has a function. It can be added when refining elixir, which can improve the success rate and quality of elixir, but the 3 masters and disciples of Mei Suan, who are good at elixir, do not need Xianquan's help. Of course, Gu Yao also bottled a lot of fairy springs for master. Even if he usually uses it to make tea, it is also very good. Tianji Yukan. Upstairs by the window, someone stuck their head out and greeted the cultivator who passed by. "Jiangshu, come up for a drink. I heard that you went back to Void City to break through some time ago. Now, looking at your cultivation level, let's Tianju. There are more immortal monarchs in the city." Jiangshu looked up and smiled, "Well, let's go up." Jiangshu walked into the restaurant with the people around him, and was invited upstairs by the staff according to the instructions of the guests upstairs. When they got there, it was naturally more lively. Unexpectedly, Jiangshu made a breakthrough when he said that, there are many people present. At the peak of Tianxian, he has been unable to sense the signs of breakthrough, so he is envious of Jiangshu. If you want to say envy, you should actually envy the few monks in Guka's team. When they disappeared for 100 years and just returned to Void City, the first one was Master Su, who was known as the Red Flame Sword Demon. After the breakthrough, in the next 200 years or so, Jiangziu Qi Changjai was first promoted to Immortal Monarch, and then alchemist Gu Yao followed suit, and I heard that the remaining alchemist Su Chen is also fast. By the way, I heard that Jiangshu, your team, and Gu Kai's team are old acquaintances. Did you know each other before? Someone asked curiously. Jiangshu smiled and admitted, that's true. In fact, it's simple to say, it was before they disappeared. Once they lost their way on the battlefield, left the area of the prefecture-level city, and ran to Tianjiu. They were in the city's territory, and we happened to meet them, so we brought them back to Tianjiu city, and many people should have seen them at that time. It turned out to be them, someone did dig this out from the depths of their memory. At that time, some people joked that Jiangshu and Fangsu were not nosy people. How could they be kind enough to save people at that time? At that time, it was only a joke. I would have thought that the people who were rescued by Jiangshu and the others had now surpassed Jiangshu and stood on the same level as them. Jiangshu also sighed with infinite emotion, yeah, I didn't expect their progress to be so fast. Think about how much time and effort I have put into advance and break through, and then look at them scrambling to become an immortal, chasing after me. I suspect that my qualifications are too poor, but it is not that difficult to become a fairy. Bah, bah, bah. You are so emotional, so what have we become? It may be as easy as drinking water for others, but you have to believe that it is an individual situation, and we are the norm, don't you think? Exactly. Exactly. Fellow Daoist Zhang, come and drink. Okay, I'll invite you for this meal, Jiangshu also said boldly. In fact, he was able to break through this time, thanks to Gu Yao's help. Before breaking through, he made a lot of preparations, but he still felt that it was still lacking. Thinking of Gu Yao's alchemy technique and the fate he had on the battlefield, he went to ask Gu Yao for help with the mentality of trying it out, hoping that Gu Yao could help him refine a pot of elixirs. Gu Yao still remembered the help he and Fang Su had given to them. He answered Jiangshu's request without saying a word. The medicinal pill he finally got really lived up to Gu Yao's reputation. The promotion went very smoothly. But without the help of Need Pill, Jiangshu suspects that his chance of success is only 20% to 30%, so he is very grateful to Gu Yao. In order not to increase Gu Yao's troubles, he has not disclosed this matter to the public except for his own people. Although Jiangshu didn't say it, many people suspected that Gu Yao had made a move, because after all these years, all the monks who knew them knew that the monks in Gu Kai's team actually remembered the old feelings very much. Got it, and the status of the slaughtering team. Transmigration, First Class Immortal Husband. Author, North Wind Blows. Chapter 694. When they really wanted to leave Void City, Gu Yao and the others were still a little reluctant. After coming to Immortal Realm, they stayed here for the longest time. Before leaving, they only said goodbye to Master and Immortal Emperor Yu Heng. The two elders will continue to stay here, which also reassures Gu Yao and the others. Unless there is a mutation in the Void Beast battlefield, for Master, Void City will be better than others. The place is much safer, and Xian Wutang needs my Xuan. Special Operations Team. On the other hand, with Huju and others, they said that they would consider leaving Void City for a while, go outside to practice, and will return to Void City in the future, because the date is uncertain, so I only exchanged contact information with them, and there is a chance in the future. Meet. The four of Gu Yao and Su Chuan disguised themselves as ordinary passengers and left the Void City quietly in the spaceship. Because Master is here, they will definitely come back after training outside for a while. Before leaving, Immortal Emperor Yuhang left them a life-saving thing, and sealed the token of Yuhang Immortal Emperor level strength, which would be invalid after 3 times, that is to say, encounter an enemy with the same strength as Immortal Emperor Yuhang. Relying on this token can also buy them time to escape. In addition, the large sums of points they earned on the battlefield were all exchanged for various items in Xian Wutang, such as Xian level Immortal Formation, Xian level Immortal Armor, and many auxiliary items. Going out to buy Immortal Stones is much more cost-effective. The same is true for Su Chuan. It can be said that he has armed himself to the teeth, plus the various elixir that Gu Yao has equipped for him, his net worth is rich. However, on this trip, he and the 4 of Gu Yao were not in the same direction. When the transfer was on the way, Su Chuan said goodbye to the 4 of Gu Yao. Su Chuan's cultivation has progressed very quickly over the years, but the longer he stayed in Void City, the more difficult it would be for him to forget what happened to Yukong Cheng. After a long time, he would inevitably become a demon, so while Gu Yao and the others were out for training, he felt that it was time for him to go back to Yukang City to finish his own affairs. Wait for Yukang Chinj, if there is no accident, I will go back to Void City. Captain, you are training outside, so be careful. Chi Changjai patted him on the shoulder. You have to take care of yourself. By the way, if the Kong family brothers are in trouble, if you can help them without endangering themselves, you don't have to reveal your identity, everything is about yourself. Okay, I will. Let's go. Chi Changjai nodded, turned around and stepped onto a ferry shuttle with Gu Yao and the others. This was also a Xian-level ferry shuttle that was exchanged from the Xianwu Hall. Compared with the original Donglan City, it can be described as a shotgun for a cannon. They appeared and ran out, just like a nouveau riche. Su Chuan watched their Xianchuo disappear into the starry sky, and then turned to board another spaceship and headed towards Yukang City along the original route. Gu Yao and his party were in Void City. In fact, there were many forces watching every move. However, everyone thought that even if they were to leave Void City, they would be promoted after Su Chen broke through. Leave early. After they didn't show up for a long time, it was confirmed that the 4 and Su Chuan had opened Void City. They were all surprised and wanted to find out their whereabouts. However, after the transfer station, they took their own Xianchuo and disappeared into the vast starry sky. Among them, even they themselves do not know the destination of this trip. How will those forces trace it? The 4 of Gu Yao knew that there would be many people in Void City who wanted to find out their whereabouts, but how could they do so? At this moment, they are very comfortable. Now with their strength, as long as they avoid dangerous areas, they can go to most places in the starry sky. If you are tired from staying in Xianchuo, you will also release the Mount Ziun sculpture that was captured at the beginning. The purple cloud eagle is usually kept in the space, and has not been specially cultivated. Now it has grown to a celestial star beast. Just come out, the back is enough for the 4 of them to ride. The purple cloud sculpture also shuttled through the nebula very happily, tweeting from time to time. Before the expansion of the Pill Pavilion, the space was too small for the purple cloud sculpture who had lived in the starry sky since childhood. When passing the interchange station on the way, I occasionally stopped for a few days to rest. They decorated their faces and looked like ordinary angels. However, angels are considered good strength in the starry sky. In addition, they are not rich, so not many people hit their ideas. Of course, they want to make ideas disappeared forever in this starry sky. For this reason, they specially disguised their Xianchuo, disguising the Xian level Xianchuo as a heaven level one. When they settled down at the exchange station, they would go to the restaurant to inquire about the various news that had gathered together. If they heard something interesting, they might jump in. Gu Yao and Su Chen's identities have not been exposed, although they are not short of immortal stone envoys, but they will also use another method to get immortal stones to obscure their attention. They would use the concocted immortal wine to trade with others. Needless to say, the immortal wine they made was not the best, but in a place like the exchange station, it was of high quality. To say where the immortal wine came from, it is necessary to talk about the changes in space. Since it evolved into a small world, the original planted fruit. Not only did the woods expand, but the immortal fruit had no time to consume, so they had to find a way out, so they decided to hit the immortal wine. At that time, Guyao and the others chose two reputable firms, and they privately exchanged elixir for the recipe for brewing immortal wine. Of course, the best batch is made from the immortal spring of the 9th tier immortal lotus. Apart from giving this batch of immortal wine to Master and Immortal Emperor Yuheng, no one else can easily get it, that is, Guyao and the others in private. I don't drink this kind of immortal wine all the time, but I also drink it once in a while when I am in the mood. I usually drink the first-class immortal wine under this special immortal wine, and the rest is taken out for trading. Have you heard? Yuxian City has been bustling recently. The eldest miss of the Su family in Yuxian City ran away with the sidekick of the Tao family, the mortal enemy of the Su family. The two families searched Yuxian City and couldn't find them. Now I want the Yu family to come forward to preside over justice. No way, you're still eloping? Could it be that the Tao family's sidekick is very good, and has the eyes of the Su family's eldest lady? If it's very good, it has been cultivated by the Tao family long ago, and the blame is that this sideline boy is very ordinary, and even his cultivation base is a bit worse than Miss Su, so I don't know how he got into Su Da Miss's eyes, regardless of the family's objection, have to run with him, haha, I really want to know this kid and learn a few tricks from him, maybe we can become someone else's son-in-law. Bah! It's so beautiful. Do you really think that the eldest ladies of those families have such a bad vision? Those who enter the family are either for people to be used as stallions to give birth to children, or they are talented enough to be seen by other families. Married to win over the past, what do we people have? To be a stallion for others. Haha, it sounds good, haha. Su Chen was listening intently, and his eyes brightened to Su and Guyao and said, how about we go to Yuxian City to join in the fun? The eldest lady of the Su family and the Tao family boy are quite interesting. Of course, Su agreed. Originally, they just walked around casually, so they asked Guyao and Qi Changjai for their thoughts. I think it's good too, what do you think? Okay, let's go to Yuxian City. The four of them settled the bill, walked out of the restaurant and walked outside the exchange station, and took the Xianchuo to Yuxian City. The location of Yuxiancheng is not difficult to find, it is not so small that it does not exist on the spherical map, but it is some distance away from the communication station. From the gossip of the audience in the restaurant before, it can be inferred that Yuxianken is the only one of the Yu family, which is also convenient for the management of Yuxianken. Therefore, there are many families and forces under it, which also makes Yuxianken look more prosperous than Yukangchenj. Much more, the number of spaceships entering and leaving the port is quite large. When they were approaching the land, they abandoned Xianchuo and flew in through the entrance and exit. When I entered the city, I found that the inspection here is much stricter than other places, especially for people who go out of the city. Maybe the Su Tao family felt that the two who eloped before they left the city, maybe they can be caught at the entrance and exit. Come out. I don't know how the troubles came about. It was so turbulent that even the exchange station regarded it as a lively topic of gossip, not to mention that in Yuxian City, just at the entrance and exit, many monks could be heard talking about Su pottery too. Yuxian City is very big. Since they are here to join in the fun, of course they have to go to the crowded place, so they found an inn in the downtown area to stay. As soon as he entered the restaurant, he was still walking on the stairs when he heard voices from upstairs. This Su family is not humiliating, and it has the face to ask the Yu family to come forward to preside over justice. Listen to now, in Yuxian City, who is not talking about their Su family's eldest miss self-deprecating status, but the Tao family, who actually has a secret in private. Many people envy that kid, saying that this kid has no skills, and Yanfu is not small. You don't know, I actually know one more thing. It is said that before they eloped, the Su Tao family had reached an agreement in private to marry, but of course the target of the Tao family's marriage is not the children of the collateral line, but the direct line. Speaking of that, Miss Su doesn't like the direct line, and the Tao family is also very angry. It is estimated that the kid will be arrested by the two families and divided into 5 horses as soon as he appears. Really? Is there such a thing? Of course it's true. Look at it, it won't take long before this matter will be exposed, and I don't know if it's a family that doesn't like them and deliberately makes it so big, or the Su family is willing to let outsiders do you know about their Miss Su eloping with an inconspicuous sidekick. You're right, haha, it's even more fun to watch now. Su Chen, who was sitting in the box, said happily, as expected, we flew to Yuxian City for more than 2 days to watch the excitement, it was really interesting. Transmigration, First Class Immortal Husband. Author, North Wind Blows. Chapter 695. It has been more than a year since Guyao and the others left Void City. Yuxian City is also far from Void City, but it is closer to the border of the 3 realms. Although the 4 of them had no direct purpose, they felt that there was a chance and it would be a great loss not to go to other places. So if the opportunity is right, both the demon world and the demon world can travel. Yu Xiancheng is just a pleasure to meet. After listening to a lot of gossip in the restaurant, they went to the market for a long time to collect items that were not available in other places to increase their storage. If you want to visit the big store, you have not missed the small store, maybe you can find something interesting. They saw a shop specializing in immortal talismans in an alley. They originally went in to take a look at random, but after a glance, Chi Changjai found that although the immortal talisman in this store is not high, the quality is very high. Yes, and also developed some interesting auxiliary fairy talismans, so I stopped to watch. Yoyang. When they were in Tianyuan continent, the inheritance they got included fairy talismans. Chi Changjai also picked up the talisman while practicing swordsmanship. The inheritance left by Yongxian Pagoda can be said to be top-notch, so Chi Changjai's the vision is also much higher, and at a glance, it can be seen that the cultivator who made this immortal talisman has a very good talent in talisman. He picked out a few immortal talismans that he found interesting and could learn from them. After paying the immortal stones to the shop clerk, he went out with Guyao and the others. Although the maker had good talisman skills, he didn't want to meet him. After all, his full-time job is a swordsman, and a talisman is just a hobby. After his mother and uncle ascend, he can give them intensive repairs. At this moment, more than a dozen cultivators rushed into the store, and one of them shouted at the guy, "Where's your boss? Tell him to come out, tell that kid Tao Zion to come out, or we will destroy his shop." I don't know anyone from Tao Zion, the man defended. "Bah! It's the owner of your shop, who thought we wouldn't recognize him after he changed his face," the man shouted at the back. "Tao Zion, you have the guts to get out of here, thinking that you will hide here and shrink your head. The tortoise thinks it's useful? It's useless for you to deceive ghosts. Tao Zion, you useless bastard, get out of here. You have disgraced our Tao family." And while he was talking, he even started to smash the store. The 4 Guyao who had not yet left were kicked out by them, and they told them fiercely that it was the Tao family who were doing business here, and those who didn't want to offend the Tao family had to get out of the way. Of course, Guyao and the others didn't get out, they just walked out of the shop and stayed outside to watch. "Who asked them to call out the name Tao Zion? Isn't this the side boy from the Tao family who eloped with Miss Su? Miss Su is also here?" Su Chen's eyes widened and he looked into the store with great interest. Although it was an alley, it was in a crowded area, which attracted nearby monks to stop and watch. They also heard the word Tao Zion and the cultivators who claimed to be the Tao family, and they chatted in ear to ear. The owner of the small shop finally couldn't hold back, and came out and said angrily, "You all stop. All stop. Wow, that's Tao Zion. He looks like a little white face." The cultivator onlookers suddenly became excited. Although Tao Zion's name has spread to Yuxiancheng, but because he is an unknown member of the Tao family, there are not many people in Yuxiancheng who know him. Now they are excited when they see him. They want to know what the only such a man can attract Miss Su. Actually, it's not very good. Why did Miss Su take a fancy to marriage? Where's Miss Su? Where did this Taoist kid hide Miss Su? People outside were talking, and the Tao family members in the store were also asking Tao Zion to hand over Su Xianxian. Tao Zion's face was flushed. "Slander, I don't know who is slandering me, I have nothing to do with Miss Su. Involvement, how do I know where she is? Isn't it enough for me to be pushed to this point by you?" Really, the onlookers outside were about to explode. If Miss Su hadn't eloped with the sidekick of the Tao family, what about Miss Su now? How did the rumors come about in the first place? The desire to gossip one by one has become stronger. No matter how you look at it, there is a strong conspiracy behind this incident. "Something's wrong." Gu Yao sent a voice transmission to Qi Changjai and Su Chen. "What's wrong?" Qi Changjai kept paying attention to the movement over there, but found nothing. Gu Yao explained, "The power of the soul in the body called Tao Zion is a little unstable. It is not caused by a reason such as a house grab, but..." Gu Yao carefully observed Tao Zion again, and considered the words. "It seems that there is another powerful soul force in the body, which has been sleeping all the time, but perhaps due to various changes, this soul force has begun to wake up." This made both Qi Changjai and Liao Su's eyes narrow, and their gazes towards Tao Zion also became scrutinized. If what Gu Yao said was true. So, who is this Tao Zion, who only has Earth Immortal cultivation base now? After thinking about it for a while, he said, "I have heard that there are some secret methods in the fairy world, which can make monks reincarnate and rebuild, but because the original soul power is too powerful, this part of the power will be sealed during the reincarnation process, and it will be reincarnated in the future. As the strength of the person continues to increase and gradually integrates and awakens, after a certain stage, all the memories of the previous life will be restored, and even the cultivation base. This method is much more advantageous than directly seizing the house, but the conditions for using the secret method are also very harsh. Generally speaking, after reincarnation, the cultivation level of the second life will be stronger than that of the first life. It is said that the previous life, when the powerhouse is unable to take a step forward, he will choose this method to make a breakthrough. Of course, it is also possible that when the monk is seriously injured, his life is hanging by a thread, and he can only use this method to reincarnate and rebuild, otherwise he will die and enter the reincarnation. After reincarnation, it is difficult to awaken the memory of the previous life, and the front you can't take everything with you." Su Chen was surprised and said, "Could it be that the sidekick of the Tao family is likely to be reincarnated and rebuilt? Is this about awakening and fusion?" Gu Yao said, "His body is still a little weaker now. If he is fully awakened, it will be very unfavorable to him." "Then we want to intervene," Su Chen said eagerly. "The great power is reincarnated, maybe they can get acquainted with the great power." Liao Su said helplessly, "Look at the situation first, there are many powerful means, and they may not put themselves in a disadvantageous situation." Just as they were transmitting their voices, the shop had already started fighting, the guys were hiding, and a dozen cultivators who broke into the shop trapped Tao Zion in the middle. They gave up other methods and beat and kicked him. Calling the onlookers outside to see the monks was a little unbearable, which was clearly humiliating. "Come on," Gu Yao whispered. Seeing that Tao Xian's aura suddenly rose steadily, the Tao family hadn't noticed it yet, but some monks onlookers felt it, and immediately widened their eyes. And what Gu Yao felt was the change of the soul power in Tao Xian's body. He didn't know whether it was because of his own soul or he had learned the soul spell from the cubs. He felt that the seals in Tao Xian's body had cracks. Soul power poured out of the cracks. Tao Xian roared up to the sky, and the shop that had been reinforced, collapsed in an instant, the roof flew off, and a large amount of immortal energy poured in from all directions. Ended up with the same ending as the roof. What's going on? Everyone was surprised, and some monks in the distance came to notice the movement here, and some people thought that someone here suddenly advanced to a breakthrough, which led to the change of immortal energy. This Tao Xian is an earthly immortal, and there are several immortals in the Tao family who deal with him. Tao Xian kicked them all out by himself. Already? No, you can see that Tao Xian's momentum is constantly rising. My God, the late stage of the Earth Immortal, the peak of the Earth Immortal, and the early stage of the Immortal. Is he really the Tao Xian from the Tao family? The change was so short it was unbelievable that if they hadn't watched how it all happened, who would they think was joking with them? The four of Gu Yao saw it clearly, and the more they broke through, although there was a lot of immortal energy coming in, they couldn't keep up with the speed of Tao Xian's soul, so the immortal energy contained in the flesh and blood of the body was sucked away, and the flesh body was visible to the naked eye. Visibly shrink. Gu Yao swished several times and popped several elixir into Tao Xian's mouth. At the same time as he shot, Liao Su also waved his hand, which resulted in no one seeing Gu Yao's movements clearly, and no one knew that elixir helped Tao Xian. The elixir melted at the entrance, and subconsciously, Tao Xian also realized that his condition was wrong and needed a lot of immortal energy, so he did not refuse the entrance of elixir. Immortal infant revolved at high speed again, and the shriveled flesh and blood began to fill up again. Hey! It's in the middle stage of Tianxian, this is still not human. Gu Yao threw the elixir again, and at the same time he picked up a soul curse and hit it, and landed on the seal of the opponent's soul. The outpouring of soul power suddenly slowed down, and Tao Xian's rising breath gradually calmed down. He kept his eyes closed. Tao Xian opened a pair of bottomless black eyes. At this moment, Tao Xian was floating in mid-air. As the breath on his body slowed down, the riot of immortal energy around him also stopped, and the monks who came from a distance could also get close to this place, and only then did he see the figure at the center of the riot. He is Tao Xian. The cultivators who were thrown out did not suffer any serious injuries. At this moment, one person loudly exposed his identity. Tao Xian used to feel like a very honest monk, but now a pair of eyes flashed with a strange luster. Tao Xian? Yes, I am Tao Xian, and you dare to bully me Tao Xian even with you few monks who don't have long eyes. Who gave you the guts? After speaking, Tao Xian stretched out his hand, and flicked his slender 5 fingers in mid-air, and a ray of light penetrated into the man's body. He twitched sharply, and none of the other Tao family members who followed him could escape, and the patrols that came behind didn't have time to stop Tao Xian's shot. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Transmigration, First Class Immortal Husband. Author, North Wind Blows. Chapter 696. There was too much movement here. In addition to alerting the nearby patrols, it also attracted the attention of some powerhouses. Some people rushed over directly, and some people paid attention to them with spiritual awareness, including the Tao family. Tao Xian? Stop, what have you done? A Taoist family's peak celestial consciousness swept away and found the abnormality of the dozen or so cultivators. Tao Xian gently moved his finger and swept away the immortal babies of those few people. Blocked, unable to mobilize Xian Yuan force, became an ordinary person. The onlookers also curiously used their spiritual sense to investigate the situation of the dozen or so cultivators, and the results they saw made them gasp. Is this really the sidekick of the Tao family that they know? Before this happened, in the entire Yuxian city, who knew the name of this kid? People from the Tao family. What happened here? Yeah, it's Yu Danking. I didn't expect to invite the Yu family too. As his name suggests, Yu Danking, who was flying in mid-air, was dressed in a green robe and looked very elegant and gentle, as if a scholar came from the sky. However, when the monks on the patrol and those angels bowed respectfully to him, you could know that his status is not low. Tao Zion looked up, obviously he was at a low position, but it gave him a feeling that he was not a dwarf. He said, "Who are you?" "I just taught a few guys who don't have long eyes." "Do you think you are with them for destroying my shop with them? Then you should pay for them." As soon as he opened his mouth, the onlookers almost knelt down for him, and Su Chen was delighted to hear it. Guyao suspected that he was in a rather chaotic state at the moment, and maybe he hadn't figured out his identity for a while. However, Tao Zion still had a feeling about who helped him at a critical time, so he cast a glance at the positions of the four Guyao. Bold, Tao's Tianxian peak almost vomited blood, worried that his rude attitude would offend Yu Danking. Even if Yu Danking has the same cultivation level as him, this is the Yu family's son Danking. How can you be rude? Don't hurry up and make amends with young master Danking. Tao Zion looked at Yu Danking and said, "You want me to compensate you, don't you?" You. The Tao family's heavenly immortal peak was about to be delighted. Yu Danking laughed. "No, since it's their fault, it's reasonable for you to fight back, but I know who you are now. You are Tao Zion from the Tao family. I heard that you are not with Miss Su family. Why are you here? What about Miss Su?" Tao Zion spread his hands and said, "Good question. I also want to know where Miss Su is, why everyone says I eloped with her. Maybe you should trace the source of this rumor. Who is it? I think that person will know the truth of everything. I didn't do it, I won't take it on myself, and no one else can frame it." Tao Zion said it righteously and boldly, and his aura seemed to be stronger than Yu Danking's, which made people want to believe what he said. "Talk." Yu Danking clapped his hands and said, "Well said. It seems that the people in the city lord's mansion are too slack. I'll let people find out about this. If it wasn't for Taoist friend, the city lord mansion would definitely clarify for Taoist friend Tao to be innocent." "Thank you." Tao Zion waved his hand lazily, completely different from the respectful appearance of the Taoist Tianxian cultivator to Yu Danking. But Yu Danking didn't take it seriously. He also returned a salute, and then ordered the patrol team to maintain order here, and summoned back to the city lord's mansion, and arranged for people to find out about the matter. Who let the Su Tao Tu go to the city lord's mansion to preside over justice? Otherwise, the city lord's mansion has no position to intervene in this matter. The expression on the peak of the Tao family Tianxian changed, which made Yu Danking more believe in Tao Zion's innocence, and at the moment he was more interested in Tao Zion than the Tao Su family's personal affairs. In a short period of time, he crossed a major rank and became a middle-stage cultivator of the Immortal, and his aura was not lost to Immortal Monarch. Yu Danking turned around and left. The patrol team dispersed the onlookers and sent people to reorganize the destroyed shop. Tao Zion himself had been lazy, and when the shop was almost cleaned up, he suddenly walked towards the four Guyao who were still watching, and said abruptly, "Can you lend me some immortal stones first, and then return it later?" This kind of attitude of the debt is owed anyway, no matter how much you owe it, makes people laugh. Some monks didn't go far, and they were a little dumbfounded when they saw this scene. This Tao Zion will not be stupid, right? However, unexpectedly, Chi Chang'ai took out a bag and threw it over. The bag contained 10,000 middle-grade immortal stones, which is not a small number for ordinary monks. Tao Zion's reaction was indifferent, and he turned around and spent all these immortal stones. Get it all, use it to pay the salary and compensate the nearby shops that suffer, and then invite the four of Guyao into the shop to sit down. The four of them were not afraid of anything, they walked in with him, and the shop door was closed in the sight of the onlookers. The quiet scene boiled again like boiling water. What the is going on? Then Tao Zian won't be taken away, right? It's not like, if it really took the body, it would be impossible to hide it from the eyes of Master Danking. Maybe this guy has been hiding his cultivation base and doesn't want to be discovered. Until this time, he was forced to show his true strength. Already. Take it down. Where is the hidden strength? It's obviously improved on the spot. We all have our eyes. The riot of immortal energy just now is not fake. That's what special exercises you have cultivated, or what else could be the reason. But things seem to be more interesting. Who did Miss Su run away with? This Tao Zian seems to be really wronged. Young Master Danking has let the city lord's mansion intervene, and the truth will definitely be found out. I hope the city lord's mansion will find out soon so that we can watch the show. What happened here quickly spread, and the Su family and the Tao family knew about it, especially the Tao family. That day, the cultivator of the Immortal Peak brought back more than a dozen people who had been sealed by the Immortal Baby, which caused a lot of waves in the family. The key is that even Xianjun can't help them unlock the seal. This time, the Tao family also suspects that Tao Zian has changed his personality, but unfortunately, Tao Zian, a sidekick, is too obscure. After asking around, not many people know his usual situation, and they have no way of knowing how he came up with this strange method. Every idiot, look at what you do. Tao Zian is a child of my Tao family, but no one has discovered his talent in talismanism on weekdays. This sealing technique is clearly a talisman technique. He pinched this rune with his own hands and directly penetrated into the bodies of these people. It can be seen that the cultivation of this rune has reached its peak. You'd better explain things honestly. What's going on? I don't want to hear your excuses, I just want to hear the truth. Talk. This incident shocked old ancestor Tao. He glanced at it and saw that there was a hidden secret behind this incident, and he was about to be amused by these idiots. At this moment, the four of Guyao and Tao Zian came to the backyard of the shop. Tao Zian wanted to make tea to entertain guests, but found that he had been destroyed once. Where is there anything left? Now a little uncomfortable. Come. Guyao calmly took out the teapot and invited Xian Quan to make tea. Tao Zian heaved a sigh of relief, sat down calmly, took a cup of tea and took a sip, saying, "Good tea. Of course it is a good tea, and the tea tree is also a famous product that was found through a commercial company. The share of each component of Xian Wutang is quite a lot, of course. Those immortal stones earned will of course further improve their lives. For fellow deists, Xian, thank you for your help today. I don't want to say thank you for your kindness. Wrong, Xian will report it later. Now he can't report it, and with his eyesight, he can see that the four people are hiding Xiu. Because, 3 of the monarch level strengths are not weak in the entire Yuxian city. Where, I happened to meet, and I came to help out of curiosity. You don't need to be polite, Taoist friend, my brother and I are both alchemists, and a few pills are nothing. If Taoist friend Tao wants to thank you, why don't you discuss the talisman with my Taoist companion? He has some interest in this direction, Guyao suggested. Tao Zian's eyes lit up. Zheng Zhou didn't know how to repay. He wasn't someone who received grace and didn't know how to thank him, otherwise he would be ashamed if he spread it out. Well, why don't the 4 fellow deists be in my small courtyard? Just stay, there are multiple layers of protection. He now. This strength is a bit weak, and it is not easy to improve in a short time, otherwise it will be unfavorable for future breakthroughs. Respect is worse than obedience. The 4 of Guyao stayed here temporarily, and didn't care that they would be involved in the right and wrong of Yuxian city. Now they have enough strength to protect themselves. Tao Zion was earning immortal stones, so the shop reopened. He exchanged spells with Chi Chang'ai while drawing fairy talismans. After a short period of time, Chi Chang'ai discovered that this man's talisman skills had indeed reached a level that he could easily grasp, and he also studied the soul spell that Gu Yao put on him. This kind of behavior of using himself as an experimental body made people not know what to say. After a few days, he was really researched by him, and he also added several layers of protection to the cracks in his seal. Because of the words from the city lord's mansion, the people of the Su family and Tao family did not dare to cause trouble, but Tao Zion's name was spread, and many monks in Yuxianken who knew the rumor of the elopement came to watch Tao Zion, only to find that the store was selling the quality of the fairy talismans is very good, and the price is only slightly higher than other stores, which is very cost-effective, so I bought a few fairy talismans when I left. At the end of the day, all the fairy talismans placed by Tao Zion were sold out. Counting the fairy stones, Tao Zion sighed. How could he be in his eyes, but now he has to save immortal stones to pay off his debts. Do you know any interesting places nearby? Su Chen walked into the store from behind and asked. Tao Zion's eyes flashed, he really knew a place, maybe he could repay his debt soon. Transmigration, First Class Immortal Husband. Author, North Wind Blows. Chapter 697. Tao Zion was planning to earn immortal stones to repay his debts, and the city lord's mansion also found out about the so-called elopement between Miss Su and Tao Zion. City Lord Yu handed over the matter to Yu Danking to deal with, and at the same time let people pay attention to the situation on Tao Zion's side. It was really that his breakthrough was too abnormal at that time. After analyzing, City Lord Yu also thought of the situation that Su said. If this is the case, unless the other party is completely strangled, it is not easy to offend such a character, and the other party will come to them sooner or later. Offending a monk who is destined to be a master in the future is something only a fool would do. In the opinion of City Lord Yu, this possibility accounts for most of them. If the guess is true, what the Tao family has done to Tao Zion is the worst, pushing a future great master out of his own hands. He is now eager for the relationship between Tao Zion and the Tao family. Don't reconcile, he doesn't want a force that can replace the Yu family's status in Yuxianken. If the Tao family treats Tao Zion better, although it is reincarnated and rebuilt, the body of this life is destined to have a deep relationship with the Tao family. Even if the memory of the past life is restored in the future, Tao Zion will also take care of the Tao family because of his identity in this life. But what about now? Knowing Yu City Lord's thoughts like this, Yu Danking kept an eye on the investigation, and the City Lord's mansion was fully activated. Where could the activities hidden in the dark corners be hidden, and they were all exposed to the sun? Before Yu Danking announced the result, the Su family head and the Tao family head came to the city master's mansion to make amends and escorted the parties. Yu Danking politely asked the two patriarchs to sit down and let them serve tea, but turned a blind eye to the other people. How dare the two patriarchs underestimate Yu Danking? Yu Danking's strength is not higher than them, but behind him is the support of Yu City Lord. Yu City Lord is a monk in the late Xianjun, otherwise it is impossible for all these years to deter the various family forces in Yu Xiancheng. The two patriarchs didn't know why City Lord Yu suddenly paid attention to this matter. The Tao family head yelled at the Tao family that he brought, Tao Yuxing, get out of here and make amends for Mr. Danking. One of the Tao clan cultivators turned pale, and yet gritted his teeth and walked out. It was a shame for him. However, the ancestor personally ordered that if this matter is not dealt with properly, his future supply of resources in the clan will also be reduced. It will be interrupted, which is equivalent to cutting off his back path, and he has to come out. Patriarch Su also said, Su Xian is good, you also come out and make it clear to young Master Danking. A female cultivator with an ordinary face also came out. Yu Danking looked at it with interest. He didn't know what method he had used. Elopement with someone, but still staying at Sue's house. I don't know what is the benefit of destroying one's reputation in this way. Tao Yuxing bravely explained what happened before and after, that is to say, the so-called elopement between Tao Ziyan and Miss Su was completely concocted by them. The reason why Tao Ziyan was pushed out was because he was in the Tao family. It didn't matter, he was picked out at random, and it was harmless to abandon such a sidekick. It turns out that although the Su family and the Tao family are rivals on the surface, they have been in contact with each other more privately over the years. Recently, they are more interested in marriage. The objects of marriage are Su Minqiangxian and Tao Yuxing. It is said that Tao Yuxing has long been Su Xiangxian's guest, and Miss Su's nature is very different from what everyone knows. In this way, for them, the so-called guest at the curtain is meaningless. Besides, Su Minqianhao doesn't want to be trapped in marriage. She prefers her current life. But because it will not the man dry, and it is somewhat helpful to the other party, so she has been secretly communicating with her guests who entered the curtain. Tao Yuxing also knew that Su Mingqian was not only a man, how could he become a husband and wife with her, and the occasional fish and water romance in private would be more satisfying to him, and he had ambitions. He was interested in Yu Danking's sister. To take advantage of the status of the city lord's mansion to ascend to the sky in the Tao family. So Su Hao discussed with Tao Yuxing, the two scumbags, and they came up with the so-called elopement between Miss Su and Tao Ziyan. Su Xianxian ruined her reputation and will not be taken out by the family for marriage from now on. And even she helped Tao Yuxing match up and act as a matchmaker between him and Yu Danfan. Whether Tao Ziyan is dead or alive is meaningless to a scumbag and a scumbag. Of course, it is better to kill him, so that he can completely confirm the matter of his elopement with Miss Su. Neither the Su family nor the Tao family will let go. After passing him, Su Hao changed her identity to continue her romantic life. Although the people in the city lord's mansion have found out the truth, they can once again hear the two parties themselves admit that Yu Danking is really angry and happy. If it wasn't for the city lord's mansion, Yu Danking could still listen to it as a fun person. Listen, I didn't expect that this pair of scumbags and scumbags would still count on his sister. Tao Yuxing wanted to be the son-in-law of the city lord's mansion. How could there be such a good thing in the world? Hearing Yu Danking's hee, no matter how daring Su Hao was, his legs couldn't help softening. Tao Yuxing's face turned pale. The two patriarchs who wanted to dig a hole and bury themselves. They were fooled at first, otherwise they would have gone to the city lord's mansion to ask the city lord's mansion to come forward to preside over justice, and there was really some unpleasantness between the two. They both thought that the other party let them lost face. Now that they are lost together, it is not as good as before. You guys are good at calculating, fooling others like fools. You are brave enough. Yu Danking put the teacup on the table and slapped it hard, and Tao Yuxing was shocked when he heard it. He is the son of the Tao family head, otherwise he would have made such a bold calculation. The Tao family hated the pit father's son to death. How could he plead with him, and only hope that the city master's mansion can take it lightly? He said ashamed, this matter is not the Tao family's fault. If there is any offense, please feel free to punish Mr. Danking. Patriarch Su followed and apologized. He stared at Su Minqiangxian, who was dying. Although he knew that this daughter was in private dealings with many handsome men, he didn't expect her to be so bold. If he had said it earlier, he would have pushed her out for marriage. Isn't this offending people? It's the same with the Su family. Su's lax discipline has made them make such a big mistake. Please punish Mr. Danking. Yu Danking smiled coldly and said, I don't dare to punish young Master Tao and Miss Su. You still take them back, so as not to contaminate my eyes and ears. The two patriarchs were so embarrassed that they hurriedly asked someone to drag them down. Young Master Danking meant to ask them to handle it themselves. If the handling was not satisfactory to the city lord's mansion, it would be the city lord's mansion's turn to do it. Su Xianxian and Tao Yuxing were in despair, and their voices were silenced when they wanted to plead. After these people left, the side door was pushed open, and a beautiful woman walked out from inside. It was Yu Danking's sister Yu Danfan. Yu Danfan's face was full of anger. When her brother told her that she was being plotted, she still refused to believe it. Now that she heard them admit with her own ears, she almost couldn't control herself to come out and teach this pair of dogs and men a lesson. "Brother, why did you let them take them back? I wish I could kill them." Yu Danking said lightly, "They dare not perfunctory things, they will give you a satisfactory result, and this matter will not be left alone. Besides, they have set up a biggest enemy for themselves." "Brother, you mean that Tao Zion? Is he really that good?" Yu Danfan's attention was diverted. In this nonsense calculation, Tao Zion was more innocent than her. If he hadn't been clever, he would have died a long time ago. Yu Danking smiled and said, "This is what my father said, and my father will not misunderstand, so you don't need to pay attention to this matter, and you will not be involved." Yu Danfan clenched his fists and snorted, "Su Xianxian, Tao Yuxing, these sluts, it's better not to fall into my hands." Yu Danking sent a letter to Tao Zion about the result of the matter, indicating that the city lord's mansion did not intervene in the matter. At the same time, the 4 Guyao who were left in the shop by Tao Zion also entered their eyes. The situation on the spot led to a conclusion that these 4 people should have guessed Tao Zion's situation, and they were more likely to help Tao Zion at that time, so they were invited by the very conceited Tao Zion. Since Yu Danking didn't want to offend Tao Zion, nor did he want to have bad relations with these 4 people, he conveyed this message. After reading the jade slip sent by the city lord's mansion, Tao Zion's face was dark and dark on the spot. He thought that he would be used as a victim. At least this conspiracy was bigger, but he never expected that it was a pair of scumbags and scumbags. Just pull him out to block the gun. Tao Zion's first thought after reading it was to destroy the jade slip, but unfortunately it was a step too late, and the jade slip fell into Su Chen's hands. "Don't watch it. Ruin it." Su Chen laughed, "The more you don't want me to see it, the more I want to know. It's just a thought to see it," and Su Chen finished reading the recorded content while talking, rubbing his stomach and laughing loudly. "I didn't expect this to happen, fellow Taoist Tao, you are so wronged. They came here just to watch the fun, and now the truth is in front of us, how can we miss it?" While Su Chen was laughing, Tao Zion snatched the jade slip and turned it into powder in an instant, but Su Chen still repeated the content while laughing. Guyao directly spit, Chi Chang-Jai couldn't help twitching the corners of his mouth, holding a subtle sympathetic look towards Tao Zion. Damn it, Tao Zion wanted to kill the Tao and Su families and slaughter the pair of bastards. He just said, in his memory, he did see a good side of Su Xian before the accident, and the other party really seduced him, but no matter in the past or this life, Tao Zion focused on talisman and regarded beauty as nothing. Was put together by the other side. "Stop laughing," the unbearable Tao Zion roared. "Ha, don't laugh anymore, I don't laugh anymore, ha." Su Chen rubbed his stomach, "Okay, after getting in touch, this Tao Zion's temperament is quite intentional. Think. Although the Tao family and the Su family wanted to hide it from the outside world, the truth of this matter spread in Yuxian City, and everyone was dumbfounded. Of course, Yu Danfan was not involved. Transmigration, First Class Immortal Husband. Author, North Wind Blows. Chapter 698. The monks in the entire Yuxian city have eaten a good meal recently. No matter where they go, they can see the enthusiasm of the monks to gossip, and the topics are all around the Su Tao family. The Su Tao family had the intention to suppress this matter at first, because it was a scandal for the 2 of them, but could they suppress it if they wanted to? Although Yu Danking remained silent, it did not stop the spread of the whole incident. His sister Yu Danfan was not so polite, and was behind the scenes. because she thought Su Xianxian was a good person, but the truth disgusted her. If she really wanted to get together with Tao Yuxing, would these dog men and women continue to have physical exchanges behind her back? Since Su Hoxian likes to have in-depth communication with men so much, she will help her with kindness. I believe that more men will be willing to provide such communication, including the man Tao Yuxing, to see if he can gain a foothold in the Yuxiancan family in the future. How the two families deal with it is their business, but if she doesn't vent her bad anger, her thoughts are not smooth, and she can't say she will make such a move. The two families were even more unhappy. In view of the situation outside, Su Chen often took Gu Yao and Tao Ziyan out to listen to gossip. Of course, when he went out, he made a face modification, otherwise the target of other people's gossip would immediately turn to Tao Ziyan, who was used as cannon fodder by scumbags and scumbags. I really didn't expect Su Xianxian to be such a woman. I used to think of her as an ideal Taoist companion, thinking she was a really spotless fairy, and it made me sick when I knew the truth. That means Su Hao is good at acting, and has deceived everyone. In fact, I have already heard some rumors. After all, this woman has contacts with many men in private, and she can't reveal any rumors, so she is lying. It's just to deceive the public. That's right, don't look at those children from aristocratic families who come out like dogs. It's hard to say what kind of virtue they have in private. When they were born, their starting point was different from ours. We worked hard to cultivate to the current state. You can push it up by drinking pills, and with such a long lifespan, you can't do a lot of tricks in private. If you want me to say, it's too busy. It was Tao Ziyan's unfortunate bad luck that they were pulled out to block the gun. Fortunately, our young master Danking, Huoyan Jinxing, investigated the matter and made the Su family and the Tao family embarrassed. I heard that these two dogs and men have been distributed by the family to places where resources are scarce, and they are distributed for 3,000 years, and who will remember them after 3,000 years? That's right. Tao Ziyan wiped his face, and he could finally hear something that made him feel better. This kind of young lady from a noble family will never have a good life after being exiled. Who made them comfortable in a noble family since childhood? Gu Yao touched his chin and said, actually, I think what they said is quite reasonable. Su Chen followed up and said, what's the point? What about the scumbag being distributed? Gu Yao reluctantly glanced at Su Chen, who was only listening to gossip, and said, I mean, it's all a matter of being in a hurry and tossing about. Some noble families are beautiful on the face, but I really don't know how many things they don't see. In fact, come here. After entering the immortal realm, I found such a situation. If people born in a family like this are not motivated enough, they will be slack in their cultivation, and their state of mind and cultivation will be very poor, so they make some very funny things in our opinion. He believes that what has been exposed is just the tip of the iceberg. These things are very rare in Void City, and the same is true in the lower realm. The situation in Donglan City was not the same at the beginning. The children of the aristocratic family did not try their best to forge ahead, but instead maintained their status by suppressing the ascended cultivators. Tao Ziyan glanced at Gu Yao a few more times, nodded and said, you are right, these cultivators are indeed very poor, and many children of noble families focus on how to enjoy and have fun. As far as I know, there are quite a few places like this in Yuxian City. If things go on like this, these people will be useless, and if there is any crisis in the immortal realm, these people can only serve as cannon fodder. Of course, it can't be generalized. There are always some people who have higher pursuits. Su Chen pouted and said, are you talking about yourself, praising yourself in disguise? Although Tao Ziyan tried to stare at Su Chen, Gu Yao found out that the roots of his ears were actually a little red, and he couldn't stop laughing in his heart. This senior is indeed very interesting. After a circle outside, The three returned to the store. Qi Changjai and Liao Su were left in the store to watch the store honestly. However, when they came back, they found that Qi Changjai and Suhan were facing off against a few monks. Those monks had arrogant expressions on their faces, but Qi Changjai and Suhan were clearly perfunctory. Seeing Tao Ziyan coming back, Qi Changjai said directly, "The person you are looking for is back, tell him directly if you have anything." After that, he pulled Gu Yao to the back, and did not pay attention to these people. Otherwise it would have been called out long ago. The Tao family. Su Chen raised his eyebrows. "You don't seem to know them, Taoist fellow. This is interesting." Tao Ziyan didn't even move his brows. "I'm just an inconspicuous kid. Where can I get to know such people? Hurry up, I'm closing the store." The leading cultivator frowned, but thinking of the mission of the few of them, he suppressed his displeasure. "Master Ziyan, I am the housekeeper of the Tao family. The master ordered us to take Master Ziyan back." Tao Ziyan sneered disapprovingly, "Go away. I don't care about your Tao family, so don't bother me in the future. For the crimes he has suffered in the Tao family over the years, it is enough for him to save face by not going to the Tao family. Now, do you want him to join the Tao family? Dream." Annoyed him and destroyed his entire Tao family. You. The housekeeper was extremely arrogant. With his status in the Tao family, those disciples who were not valued by the sideline had to be polite when they saw him. When was it the turn of these sideline kids to yell at him? "Young Master Ziyan, don't take an inch, even if the Tao family makes such a big joke because of you, but the Tao family has a solid background. Give you a chance. Go away." Tao Ziyan still only had one word, but this time he not only moved his mouth, but also moved his fingers, and the runes immediately lit up in the store, and in a blink of an eye, these guys with tyrannical attitudes were blasted out. Immediately, the shop was also closed, and only a few monks outside could not get in. After getting rid of the disturbing flies, Tao Ziyan finally felt better, but thinking that maybe these people would bother him, Tao Ziyan waved. He waved his hand and said, "Let's set off quickly, I'm worried that next time someone will come, I can't hold back my temper and kill them. Gu Yao and a few people are happy, so let's go." A few people outside were angry but helpless, so they had to return to the Tao's house and sue Tao Ziyan with more content. But the Tao family wanted to bring Tao Ziyan back, not because they discovered his talent, but because they hoped to use this act to restore a bit of the Tao family's reputation, so they sent someone over. The Tao family owner thought that Tao Ziyan had been wronged before and took Xiao, so that he could get a little more benefit, but he didn't expect that when he sent people again, the shop was already empty, and even the shop was returned to the landlord. Where? The Tao family was stared at by many good people because of the previous incident, so this matter was spread again, and the public saw the joke of the Tao family again. "You ignored me that day, and maybe he won't be able to hold you high in the future." Everyone took it as a joke, but Yu Danking knew that maybe one day, the entire Tao family could not reach Tao Ziyan. The worst thing they did was to push Tao Ziyan out of the Tao family. In order to reduce the cause and effect with the Tao family, Tao Ziyan couldn't have done this. Later, if the Tao family paid more attention to Tao Ziyan, they might be able to save something. It's a pity that he was used to being arrogant in the past, and he refused to lower his head and take a good look at a collateral child like Tao Ziyan, so he made more mistakes. Becomes irreversible. Tao Ziyan took Gu Yao and the other four and left Yuxian City directly. Before his reincarnation, he had been to the star field of Yuxiansheng. Although it was a long time ago, he was at least more familiar with the situation here than Gu Yao and the others. The most important thing was that he knew that there was an Immortal's legacy. In this star field, that is a veteran Immortal, Tao Ziyan has also dealt with him, and finally forcibly wanted to be promoted to Immortal Emperor, but was blasted to ashes by the robbery. According to Tao Ziyan's understanding of the Immortal Monarch, he himself does not have much confidence in transcending the calamity, so he must have sealed up his immortal mansion before transcending the calamity and left it to those who are destined. What he has to do now is to put this Zhou to find out. Tao Zion made calculations based on the person's temperament and the circumstances before his death, and calculated 3 relatively suitable locations. When they left Yuxian City, they went to these 3 locations. My calculations shouldn't be wrong. If there are none of these 3 locations, then this guy definitely doesn't want people to find his legacy mansion, so he can only wait for the ban on the legacy mansion to weaken and he will be alive. Don't worry, I still have this confidence. This guy liked to collect things before his death, so I can be sure that he has a lot of good things hidden in his estate, and now it's cheaper for us, haha. Su Chen said, then Taoist friend, didn't you leave anything behind before? Tao Zion, who had laughed happily just now, was choked up immediately, stared at Su Chen unhappily, and said, I'm not like that guy and the Dragon Clan, I move everything to my immortal mansion. Besides, what do you think? It's so easy to want to be reincarnated. My net worth is almost spent. Have to. To put it nicely, it's not that people who can't hide immortal stones in their hands actually laugh at other people's temperament like dragons. But Su Chen said it beautifully, yes, Tao Dao is the smartest, and now he is the biggest winner. Only then did Tao Zion become happy again, and Guyao was ashamed to see the changes before and after. But it was too early to be happy. For the first location, Tao Zion tried a lot of methods without any results. It can only be said that this speculation was wrong. Fortunately, there are 2 locations. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Transmigration, First Class Immortal Husband. Author, North Wind Blows. Chapter 699. The first location is none. The second location is none again. When leaving for the 3rd place, Su Chen looked at Tao Zion suspiciously, isn't this 3rd place a waste of time? It has been more than half a year since they came out of Yuxian City, and they spent more than half a year on the road, because, it has been a long time since Tao Zion's reincarnation, and some of the stars have changed, so they still deterred a lot in the past 6 months, and finally it was Guyao and the others who found the place Tao Zion wanted to reach. Tao Zion bit his head and said, it's definitely not going to run in vain, so I just found 2 places. Some monks would rather spend thousands or even tens of thousands of years in order to make a fortune. We only ran for more than half a year, I brought you rich. Su Chen was just bored and quarreling with Tao Zion. Where is the real complaint? He is now dubious about Tao Zion's words, we'll talk about it when we find it. You know, our net worth is not small. Tao Zion is the only poor guy here. The immortal stones that were sold in the store before were just enough for him to practice. The food and drink during this time was not for Guyao and the others, so he knew that he might be a great man before his reincarnation. But in the face of such a guy, Su Chen really can't be respectful, bickering is a common thing. Tao Zion also looked at him suspiciously, just you? Of course, I'm an elixir master, a master of alchemy skills. Don't say that you haven't eaten the elixir I made. You dare to say that elixir skills are not good? Do you know how many people ask me to make elixir? Tao Zion pouted, it's even worse than your junior brother. Not only is the alchemy technique poor, but the cultivation base is also poor. Is this senior brother still a face? Guyao couldn't help laughing out loud. Special Operations Team. Liao Su appeased Su Chen, Chen is the best in my eyes. Tao Zion continued to despise Su Chen with his eyes, what's the use of coaxing by a Taoist companion? Look, he has the lowest cultivation base among the 4. During the fight, they found the 3rd place Tao Zion said, an empty, almost empty starry sky. If Guyao and the others hadn't led the way, Tao Zion probably wouldn't have found a place by himself. Tao Zion said, this turned out to be the guy's lair, and it is likely to be sealed by him later. I thought this surface situation was used to fool people, so I put this place at the end. Now maybe this guy likes to talk to him. Others will screw it. Several people abandoned Zionshuo and stood in this empty starry sky. Tao Zion was much more cautious this time. He took out the rune of the high-grade immortal artifact, and drew runes one by one to the starry sky in front of him. This is an auxiliary detection rune, which was figured out by Tao Zion himself. I don't admire his talent in this regard. Tao Zion also explained, I try to imitate that guy's immortal energy. This is the most likely way to find out the UFO. I'm afraid that this guy's temper is really the same as the Dragon Clan, and I don't want others to find his property and hide it. Too thorough. Tao Zion, who wanted to make a fortune, was very patient at this moment. They stood in the starry sky for more than 2 hours, and finally there were some waves in the starry sky ahead. All 5 people paid attention to these slight movements, and Tao Zion was overjoyed. I'll just say, no matter how well this guy's legacy is hidden, it's impossible to escape his speculation, and now I've finally found it, haha. Now that the method is correct, Tao Zion increased the drawing of the rune, and the movement in front of them became more and more loud. And immediately took action to help Tao Zion to drag them out together. Come. Come here, Tao Zion shouted cheerfully, hurry up, I can't hold it back alone. Tao Zion was already very tired, sweat came out from his forehead, and he quickly swallowed 2 pills. I have to say that the 2 alchemists, Gu Yao and Su Chen, are better than the alchemy masters he knew before his reincarnation. Of course, he would never tell Su Chen this, so that he would not be proud of himself. So the 5 of them worked together, and finally broke a gap in the seal of the UFO, and fixed it, lest they go in, and they have to bother to find a way to get out. The gap is fixed, and what comes in can come out. Come in quickly, the movement here will definitely attract the attention of the nearby monks. We have to get in front of them. And evacuated the left mansion. Tao Zion hurriedly rushed towards the opened gap. How poor is this to be like this? Cough, being poor to a certain extent can push the limits of people, otherwise Tao Zion would have thought of such a legacy mansion. The 4 of Gu Yao also rushed in, and there was no doubt that they had to act fast. As Tao Zion said, such a big movement did attract the attention of the nearby monks, but the place was too remote. When someone came to check it, it was more than an hour away from Gu Yao and the others. A legacy was born. So what are you waiting for? Hurry up. The news spread quickly, including Yu Danking, who was paying attention to their whereabouts. He immediately brought people here in person, and rushed in without thinking. However, other forces in Yuxiancan are not as lucky as Yu Danking. Wait for them when you know and come, maybe you can't even drink the soup. Young master is still smart. Knowing that Tao Zion has an extraordinary history, let people pay attention to their whereabouts, otherwise you will miss this opportunity. The monk who came with Yu Danking couldn't help but rejoiced. Yu Danking instructed, after entering, if you meet them and their party, you must not conflict. Yes, master. Books. The entire ruined mansion does not occupy a large area, but as soon as they enter, they will encounter an illusion and be besieged by immortal beasts and puppets. They can pretend to be real. Tao Zion reminded them before that the master of the legacy mansion is good at formation, so once they entered, they did not in a hurry to deal with these immortal beasts and puppets, they concentrated on breaking the formation. Tao Zion's rune shot again, and the formed attack runes flew out one after another. The 4 of Gu Yao also showed their means. Qi Changjai and Liao Su's attacks were especially sharp. The sound of shattering sounded, and the immortal beasts and puppets around them immediately turned into light spots and dispersed, revealing the true face of the UFO before their eyes. Because they have been attacked by star beasts and star thieves in the starry sky in the past 6 months, it is not the first time for the 4 Qi Changjai to show their hands, so Tao Zion is not very surprised by the strength they show, but he doesn't say it. He still recognized the talent and strength of these people in his heart, and said in his heart that he had only left this fairy land for a few years, and the younger generation came out one after another. There are many immortal emperors who are now famous in the fairy land, and he has never heard of their names. Not to mention the youngest immortal emperor Yuheng. The illusion was broken, and the 5 people did not relax their guard. Just imagine which cultivator was willing to fall after his own death, and the immortal mansion was looted by others. Therefore, they encountered the attack of the puppet in the next moment, exactly the same as what they saw in the illusion before. The 5 people who had been prepared for a long time took action. Tao Zion gnashed his teeth while facing the enemy. I knew that this guy would not let us in so easily, but he has brought so many puppets. I have never heard of him being good at this before. These puppets can be integrated into the illusion, so one may be hit by a puppet accidentally. You must know that among these beast-shaped puppets, some of them are at the monarch level. Fortunately, they have 3 immortal monarchs, Qi Changjai and Suze. The way was clear in front, Gu Yao stayed behind, Su Chen and Tao Zion walked in the middle. These puppets could not stop them from going. After all, the puppet is not as flexible as the monk. If you find its control hub and defeat it, the puppet will not work. Rao is the puppet's external defense. No matter how strong it is not as strong as Qi Changjai's sword and Su's sword, their sword energy and sword flame. It can penetrate directly into it and destroy the formation inside. I left a monarch level puppet and put it away. The control hub inside was not seriously damaged. It can be used again after a little repair. Needless to say, this puppet was left to Su Chen. They advanced very fast, and in a blink of an eye, they passed through this puppet area and reached an open area. Tao Zion looked around and said, "This is the courtyard behind the immortal mansion. Originally, that guy kept some immortal beasts in captivity, but now those immortal beasts are still alive, and they must have set up traps. Be careful." As they walked, they detected the forbidden formations around them. The detection runes appeared frequently. Gu Yao called out the cubs. 1 person and 1 beast cooperated to mobilize their soul power. They detected several times in advance to avoid dangerous areas. A pond appeared in front of them. There are several tens of thousands of years of the best water fairy grass, and the fragrance entices people to come and collect it. If I hadn't seen better things earlier, just these few top-quality fairy grasses would have made Gu Yao and several people want to move. No, that guy doesn't have water spirit roots, but he kept the head water scorpion in captivity, and that head water scorpion is fierce. Tao Zion suddenly sounded alert. Gu Yao also sensed a danger, and said decisively, "Then let's leave, let's talk to the main hall first." "Okay," Tao Zion replied. The 5 of them resolutely abandoned the tens of thousands of years of top-quality fairy grass. Seeing that they were getting farther and farther from the pond, they could vaguely hear the sound of water, but there was no animal roar, but the sound of water was enough, indicating that the ponds are not safe. Because Tao Zion had been to the immortal mansion, and they were vigilant enough and had many means of defense, they avoided traps and decoys and found the main hall accurately. Standing in front of the main hall door, Tao Zion akimbo laughed. "Jin Hong, you this guy, what's the use of making so many traps? You didn't expect someone who knew you to come into your immortal mansion, haha." Gu Yao twitched the corners of his eyes. If Jin Hong, the master of the immortal mansion, was alive, he would probably be off again by Tao Zion. As soon as he finished laughing, Tao Zion was tragic. He couldn't open the door of the main hall. "What's the use of not getting in?" Su Chen said, "Why don't we try it?" As a result, Su Chen touched his hand and pushed the door lightly, and the door was pushed open. Tao Zion became stupid. After being stupid, he became furious and shouted in the hall, "Jin Hong, you old man, come out for me. Go against me, right?" Transmigration, First Class Immortal Husband. Author, North Wind Blows. Chapter 700. The four of Guyao became vigilant because of Tao Xian's situation. Although the previous situation was ridiculous, it was also abnormal. It is very likely that the remnant soul of the master of the immortal mansion or a piece of spiritual sense was left behind. If it was the latter, the danger would be greatly reduced. Tao Xian just finished shouting when a phantom appeared in the hall out of thin air. The divine sense of Jin Hong, the master of the immortal mansion, appeared in the image of Jin Hong when he was alive. With a cold appearance, he looked very unapproachable. He opened his mouth and said, "By you, it turns out to be you, it seems that your reincarnation was successful. Congratulations." But there was no congratulations in the tone of voice, it was very flat. Tao Xian, who was called out by his pre-reincarnation name, gritted his teeth and said, "Yeah, it's a pity that you are dead, and I can't say goodbye to you." Jin Hong was not annoyed, but he was still calm and said, "Yeah, I am dead, and now all that's left is this abandoned mansion, with your current status. Yaoi, the memory before awakening and reincarnation is not long, so I guess you are very depressed now, so you have the idea of my immortal mansion." Tao Xian was a little uncomfortable when he was seen from the outside, but he was thick-skinned and said, "Who told us to be old acquaintances before? Giving your things to me is no better than giving them to strangers outside." Su Chen laughed directly and gave Tao Xian an admiring thumbs up. Jin Hong put her hands behind her back, looked down at Tao Xian's faceless appearance, and said, "It's not impossible to leave it to you, I have a condition." "Tell me." Tao Xian rolled his eyes and got the immortal mansion first. "Who made this guy look like the miser of the dragon clan? There are so many good things." Jin Hong glanced at him lightly, and seemed to see through the thoughts in his heart and stated his conditions. "Although I had no hesitation in attracting the catastrophe, I also knew that the possibility of my passing was extremely low, and I would die, so I stayed back." "What's behind?" Tao Xian asked in surprise. Guyao and the others are also very curious. These old seniors know a lot of secret techniques, and there are so many methods. Jin Hong continued, "After my death, my soul will enter the cycle of reincarnation. Although I am a new life after the reincarnation, I still manage to keep a trace of my true knowledge. As long as you swear, you will help me find my reincarnation body and keep him in cultivation all the way. The Zhuyi mansion, including the contents, can be left to you." Tao Xian's eyebrows jumped. The temptation was too great, but it was not a small problem. He said that this cunning guy, how could he be so kind to give him the immortal mansion, so there was such a big hole waiting for him to jump. Is he jumping, or jumping? Yeah said, "The world is so big, after you re-enter samsara, who knows where you will be reincarnated? Even if I travel all over the world of immortals and demons, maybe you will enter samsara again before I find you." That's true. Consciousness can't stand the wear and tear of reincarnation again and again. If this is the case, he will be trapped in this circle alive and dead for the sake of some belongings, and he will be out of luck for 8 lifetimes. Jin Hong said with a look of everything is under control. "Then don't worry, long before the calamity, I asked Tianxin to help me figure it out. As long as you go to the address I gave to find it, you will definitely can be found." Tao Xian's face changed again and again. "No way, I will be counted by that old thing when I come here, right? I reincarnated and rebuilt my relationship just to be a guide and errand for you." Jin Hong said blankly, "Then do you want it?" "I don't have only one choice for you, there are 4 choices in front of me." He turned his attention to the 4 Guyao, indicating that his remaining choices were here. This kind of feeling that everything has been taken into account really makes Tao Xian feel very aggrieved. He thinks that he is smart and can pry the property of this guy Jin Hong after his death. He vomited blood. At this time, Su Chen pokes him. "Actually, I'm quite happy to help the seniors, why don't you give us this opportunity? No one in this world thinks there are too many immortal stones, right?" Tao Ziyan glared angrily at the guy who demolished the platform, then turned his eyes at Jin Hong, took a few deep breaths, put on a generous look, and waved, "Forget it, for the sake of our previous life, I will help you. I'm busy this time. If your reincarnation talent is not bad, why don't I accept you as an apprentice?" Hey, it seems that this is not bad. Thinking that although this guy will no longer remember the events of his previous life, he knows that the origin of his soul is still the same. When he finds someone to accept him as his apprentice, and hears him call him master every day, it's really cool. Whatever, Jin Hong didn't care at all, and didn't care about this kind of seniority. If Tao Ziyan finds it in time, maybe he will have the opportunity to awaken the memory of being Jin Hong when he cultivates to the peak in the future. Tao Ziyan just thought that he had the upper hand, and was angry with Jin Hong's attitude. Forget it, he was so generous, he couldn't really watch it. The friends who went there are caught in reincarnation and have no connection with the Dao. As the witnesses of the four Guyao, Tao Ziyan swore an oath in front of Jin Hong's spiritual sense. After taking the oath, Jin Hong threw a jade pendant and fell into Tao Ziyan's hand, saying that as long as it entered a certain range, the jade pendant would be there will be induction, and Tao Ziyan will find himself. Then another jade tablet was thrown. The jade tablet is the control hub of the entire Immortal Mansion. As long as the jade tablet is refined, the Immortal Mansion is under control. After doing all this, Jin Hong's spiritual thoughts turned into light spots and dispersed, completely disappearing in front of their eyes. Tao Ziyan showed a little bit of disappointment, but quickly cheered up, because this spiritual sense is not Jin Hong himself, but the refining Immortal Mansion is more important, and then accept the apprentice. The four Guyao protected him. At this moment, outside, because of the disappearance of the spiritual sense of the master of the Immortal Mansion, the power of the prohibition of the formations everywhere has been weakened a lot. It will be a matter of time before they find the main hall. Not their habit. "I found it, it's here," the voice outside had already heard. "No, there is a cultivator refining the Immortal Mansion Jade Monument. It's about to be interrupted. We can't let him finish refining, otherwise we won't get anything. Let's go together." The cultivator who rushed here saw that Tao Ziyan had refined most of the jade tablet. In a hurry, he summoned Chi's men to rush in without thinking. Only the jade tablet and Tao Ziyan were left in his eyes. Yu Danking, who came later, also heard the voice, and also looked forward to the Immortal Mansion, because there are various signs that the owner of this Immortal Mansion is likely to be a monk at the peak of Xianxian. If he can get it, he will help the Yu family. Not small. But then looking up, he found the four Guyao standing between Tao Ziyan and them. Their minds calmed down, and hurriedly stopped the people he brought. "Wait, let's not join the fight for now." "Master," the cultivator who followed him was in a hurry, for fear that he would fall into someone else's hands if he took one step too slowly. "That's Tao Ziyan, Taoist fellow, and several of his friends are here. It's hard for us to grab a chance from them." In order to protect himself, he brought only one person in the early stage of Zianjun, but the attitude of the other party makes people feel that they don't take their line seriously. Yu Danking can't figure out what kind of strength they are. It's better watch for a while. Sure enough, at the next moment, more than a dozen cultivators who rushed in were all stopped by a sword light, and they flew out one after another, but no one could break through. The others also calmed down, but looked at the four Guyao with hatred. "Who are you? Are you with that guy? Otherwise, will you watch him refine the jade tablet? Is this sowing discord? This kind of trick can't catch Guyao's eyes," Chi Changjai said coldly. "Until the refining is finished, you can't cross this line." With a finger of the long sword, a line appeared on the ground. It was entirely composed of sword chi. The sharp sword chi was full of determination and murderous aura, which made some cultivators turn pale. The same is true for Yu Danking. The immortal monarch beside him said, "This is also an immortal monarch, or a sword cultivator." Sure enough, The young master's caution is right. When such a person came to Yuxian city, our city lord's mansion does not know. Now Yu Danking knew even more that he was no longer with the immortal mansion, and turned around decisively. Go, let's go somewhere else to see what we can get. Taking advantage of this last time, it would be better to harvest something more. Before being expelled by the new master of the immortal mansion, these harvests will not be deprived. Yes, master. Yu Danking is decisive, but not everyone can put it down. There are still cultivators who want to cross this line without giving up, but screams soon came out. He was not injured by Qi Changai's sword light before. This time, the injury was on the line formed by the sword Qi he left behind, indicating that Qi Changai had reserved his senses before the warning, but this time he was not polite. A monk at the level of Xianjun came, thinking that he could stop him in a mere line, but he was still dragged by this line, and even if he strongly destroyed this line, he would jump out again and say no, don't let it cross the line. After the immortal king was beaten out, the gods realized that the strength of these four people was far above them. It was unbelievable that they would protect a heavenly immortal refining the immortal mansion. Could it be that the identity of the gods is very good? Tao Zian immersed himself in the refining process. He knew very little about the disputes outside, and he didn't know the envy, jealousy, and hatred of others towards him. What is the use of those people no matter how jealous they are? What Jinhong said before is enough to show that this immortal mansion is actually reserved for him. When his errands are not paid for by him, these people can't find this piece of jade. The monument refines the immortal mansion. Although I have not been in contact with Guyao for a long time, I trust the behavior of these people very much, and I have completely handed over my safety to them. After knowing that the forcible invasion was fruitless, some cultivators chose to do the same as Yu Danking and the others. Some people found immortal grass, some found immortal tools, some died in the hands of puppets and immortal beasts, and some were trapped by the ban. All of this stopped at the moment when Tao Zian completely refined the immortal mansion. The immortal mansion was so bright that all the monks who entered it were pushed out, leaving only the four Guyao and Tao Zian, the new immortal mansion master.